Hello, 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 and welcome back to the Courageous Pivot podcast. I'm Meghan Telpner. Today's episode is a little bit different because, well, it started as an email, so you may have already read it if you're on my email list. And it's an email that I sat down to write and then just kind of kept writing it and became what I could only have called a treatise, a treatise. I don't even know what the word is. Doesn't matter. The point is, first, be sure to go to courageouspivot.com to get on the list there of subscribers, so you will also receive these in-betweeners. But what happened about this email is that I knew I wanted it to be more than an email. And I thought, do I put it on Substack? Do I throw it up on my old dusty blog, which is most likely being removed eventually? And after I sent the email, we were inundated with emails, people saying, how do I share this? Submit it to the New York Times. That was for real. And there were so many options presented. And ultimately what I kept saying is that I just don't want this to be something that is scanned on social media. I knew that I wanted it to be more of an email, but also not focus on an outlet that was sort of social media friendly, for lack of a better word. I wanted it to be something that could be taken and shared with others in a meaningful way. And then I thought, let's just record it as a podcast, slip it in here, even though this topic really is a pivot from the kind of things we normally talk about. But it's also exactly the kind of things I like to talk about because, I had put a call out on social media for a family that had de-techified, removed technology smartphones from their tweens and teens lives, like people whose kids were fully immersed on social media and they'd made the courageous pivot to extricate themselves from it, which is ridiculously difficult to do. I had no takers. I had a few people reach out to me, one of whom works with Unplugged Canada, of which I also have signed the pledge at Unplugged Canada. But I couldn't find anyone who'd actually made that pivot. And all of this had been circulating. And I wrote my episode about the freedom myth. And I'd written the episode about getting off of the reels and tuning into the whispers. Well, a lot of my episodes are actually about that. But ultimately, I ended up writing this email. And so I wanted to share it here. Again, I talk a lot about pivots. I talk about listening to the whispers, about coming home to yourself, about nervous system regulation, heart coherence, the whole beautiful, messy, courageous project of actually living your life on your own terms. And I think we've been letting the biggest obstacle to all of that go largely unexamined. And you're likely holding it right now as you listen to this. So today's episode is asking the question, is it time to unphone? I know. Ugh, it's a terrible phrase. It's so silly. But it came to me because someone had also sent me this new unsmoke initiative about getting people to quit smoking. And she said it to me like, they stole your idea. And I'm like, oh yes, undiet. I was also there. I'd never loved that title, by the way. But so we go. So after recording episode 35 on the myth of freedom, and after that episode was recorded, I announced on Instagram that I was done posting the show there. I just didn't want to participate it. And then in that week, had multiple social events, sitting across actual humans at actual tables, and it landed for me, which is this. Are smartphones the new smoking? Now, the fragrance is the new secondhand smoke conversation is everywhere right now. And what it's really pointing to is simple. Both are harmful, and neither stays contained to the person who chooses them. One person's choice, therefore, is deeply impacting the health and well-being of the entire space. Well, are phones any different? The primary user isn't faring well. The person using the phone chronically. Diagnosed anxiety disorders, body dysmorphia, cognitive impairment, skyrocketing ADHD rates, a pervasive sense of isolation and division. The exact mechanisms can be debated and direct causation is hard to prove, but the statistics make it nearly impossible to argue that smartphones are not a significant contributing factor. Here's something worth sitting with. The average adult picks up their phone 50 to 100 times a day. Teens are at 150 to 200 times a day. You can look this up yourself. See what your pickup time is. You go under settings, then screen time, then see all apps and website activity. And a pickup isn't a long scroll session or a phone call or listening to a podcast. It's a number of times you physically pick up your phone and look at it, check your notifications, see what ping just came in. Just the act of reaching for it and glancing at it. Up to 200 times a day, this is happening. 100 times in a waking day of 16 hours means the phone is being checked roughly every 10 minutes. 200 pickups, that's every 5 minutes. Don't tell me that's not affecting our brain, our focus, our concentration, our joy. We also cannot pretend that doesn't affect the nervous system and the wiring at a very, very deep level. This electrical system is at the core of how we feel, how we perceive the world around us, and how every system in the body functions. This is not a productivity conversation. This is a nervous system conversation. This is a who are you becoming slowly without noticing it conversation. And that lands squarely in the territory of everything we talk about here. Now, we can take this to the board meeting, the office social, our own creative time, or the dinner table. There's a belief that I need to know what's going on. I need to stay connected. It's a belief, and it's a false belief. Because you could still know, but do you need to know 200 times a day? Before becoming self-employed, I went on dozens of job interviews. I accepted nearly 8 different jobs in a 3-year time span, but that's a story for another day. Of all those interviews, there was one in particular that I remember. It was around 2005, and I was being interviewed for a job for an ad agency, and there were 2 of the C-level executives sitting in the office who were having the interview, and one was primarily the one asking the questions, and the other was tapping away on his BlackBerry the entire duration of the interview until near the end, where he looked up and sighed this breath of relief and said, "That was the longest email I've ever sent by BlackBerry." A lot of names for this person spun through my head. Ultimately, I was offered the job and did not accept it for various reasons, but ultimately, I didn't want to work for someone who was that insatiably rude and also didn't want the expectation that I would be that available. But I remember that moment, and I remember how awful it made me feel. It made me wonder why he even showed up to be present. So, should we take this to the dinner table then? You're sitting with friends or family. Everyone is eating, jovial, making conversation. A topic comes up, a question is asked. No one can think of the actor's name who was in that movie, and then you wonder, is he still alive? And someone says, "Let me look that up." And out comes the phone. Or maybe it's the old, "Did you see that video on YouTube? Let me find it for you." And out comes the phone. But there's also the sneakier version. The conversation keeps going, but someone who isn't active in that particular convo sits back and ever so covertly, but not at all covertly, pulls out their phone for a quick hit of the digital dope. A quick scroll to get up, even though that's actually impossible because there is always more. Maybe answer a quick message, but just like that, they've left the building. They think it's unnoticeable. They seem to believe that because their mind has left the present moment, left the people sitting around the table with them, that they've somehow magically melted into the carpet and no one will notice. Well, it's noticed. Consciously or unconsciously, everyone has noticed because it changes the energy of the moment. Your energy has also shifted. You've taken yourself from an analog moment of genuine connection into the digital vortex. And it's not nice. More than that, it's rude and it's parasitic to the energy of the moment. If something is truly urgent, more urgent than being present with the people at the table, then excuse yourself the same way you would if you needed the bathroom. Go somewhere private to take care of your business. It's hard to compete with the enhanced environment and constant stream of quick dopamine that you find in a digital world. This is something we have to deprogram ourselves from, and it's a heavy addiction that often carries into other people's homes. So, you're at someone else's house. You don't know the expectations or rules in the home you're in. And you likely wouldn't walk right into a house with your shoes on without asking first. Side note, don't do this in your home or others, it's gross. You also wouldn't pull out a cigar and light it up without asking first. You wouldn't pull out a can of Febreze and start giving the air the old spray down. And by the same token, you shouldn't assume it's acceptable to pull out your phone at someone else's dinner table. Pulling out your phone in someone else's home, in a meeting, or when you're focused on your own work at this point, it is the social equivalent of lighting up a cigarette without asking, uninvited, unannounced, and it affects everyone in the room, including you. The phone has no place at a shared meal, at a shared event, in a shared space of conversation, even if it's face down on the table, even if it's on silent, even if it's in your pocket. Stop. This has gotten out of hand. People, especially the youngest and oldest among us, are becoming deeply unwell, overwhelmed, exhausted, anxious, and unable to cope. Is it any wonder? Every 5 to 10 minutes, the phone gets picked up. Every 5 to 10 minutes, the nervous system is asked to process, assess, react, regulate, and try to protect you. Over and over all day long. Human beings were never designed to handle this volume of input. We didn't evolve for this, and we are showing it. This is where the pivot lives for me. Not just in the big life decisions we talk about on this show, not only in leaving the career or the relationship or the city that no longer fits. The pivot also has to live right here in the small, repeated, daily choice about where you put your attention. Where your attention goes, your life goes. And right now, for most people, that attention is being handed over hundreds of times a day to a device designed by some of the most sophisticated behavioral psychologists on the planet to make sure that you never want to put it down. This is not a courageous way to live. That is survival mode, but with a better, more acceptable, if you will, aesthetic. But it's not acceptable because it's not working. And I don't want someone shoving their phone in my face saying, "Look at this." How about you tell me about it? Describe it. Maybe send it to me later. But when I'm with you, let me be with you without this screen coming between us all the time. The table is sacred. Relationships are too. Treat them that way. In-person, deep and meaningful connection is the antidote to screen addiction. We have normalized something that would have been considered deeply rude only 10 years ago, and we keep normalizing it because no one wants to be the one to say something, because everyone wants to be able to keep doing it. Well, I'm saying something. Model it for your kids, model it for your friends, model it for your parents. Be the person at the table who is actually at the table. Make presence the expectation again. Honor yourself and your dreams by giving your own ideas the focus and intention and love they deserve. This isn't about being anti-technology. It's about being pro-human. And right now, the humans in the room deserve to come first. Secondhand smoke harms the people around you, whether they choose it or not. Well, so does this. You can choose differently every single time. Every time your kid says, "Mommy," and you say, "Just wait a minute. If I'm doing something on my phone," put it away. Be where your feet are and dare to ask others to do the same. Your dreams, what you are capable of creating in this lifetime, deserves that level of focus and attention. It is needed. Here's something I encourage you to use and something I've started doing when I host. Feel free to copy this as is or make your own, but here's what I send out before someone comes to my home. We're really looking forward to having you over. As a reminder, we are a shoe-free home. Feel free to bring slippers. We're also fragrance-free, and unless it's essential, we kindly ask that you keep your phone in your coat or bag so we can all be fully present for our time together. We'll still make sure to get some photos. If someone has an issue with this, that's fine. They might make fun of you. They'll get over it. Either way, you're setting a standard. You're raising the bar, and yeah, that can be uncomfortable, but that's also how change happens, and change needs to happen. Keep in mind that most people have a very real addiction to their phones. You might too. The fact that a simple suggestion to put it down at dinner produces genuine resistance, discomfort, or defensiveness in yourself or someone else, that is not a personality quirk. That is a withdrawal response. That is the story we're telling here. Now, here are a few places to start if you feel called to actually do this. Start by deleting all news apps, all of them. All of them. You do not need the news in the palm of your hand. You can go onto your computer to check once a day. Remember? That's when newspapers used to come. Once a day and there was the 6 o'clock news. That was more than enough. Delete all social media apps too. Just do it. You can still check your messages from a computer, which means you'll probably be in work mode rather than life mode. You can also check social media. Look at it from your computer. Turn off all notifications and pop-ups. Keep your phone on silent unless you're intentionally available or awaiting an important call. Dedicate specific time for correspondence. Picture the woman of the 18th century at their writing desk sending letters. Let that be your model for how you engage. Don't keep your phone in your hand, hello teenagers, or your pocket at all times. Put it down in the kitchen, put it away in a drawer, put it in the front hall. At night, keep it anywhere except your bedroom. You need an alarm? Get a $20 alarm clock. What about the time? Put a new battery in your old watch that you used to wear and wear that. You will be fine. And when working, keep the phone out of the room unless phone calls are part of your job. Even having it on your desk face down allows it to become a distraction when your work requires deep focus. Miss scrolling, need something to fill the idle time? I've got you covered. A great interim solution is just to scroll your own photos and videos. Be reminded of the beautiful life you are already living. Invest in a Rubik's Cube. Apparently, it takes 3 consistent hours of effort to solve it for the first time. You are for sure idling on your phone for more than that in a week. Let me know when you crack the code. What about taking up a handcraft? Crochet, knitting, embroidery, cross-stitch, something portable and rhythmic. This is powerful. Or kick it old school, keep a notebook and pen nearby. Doodle, write a poem, write an observation, write a note to put in your child's lunchbox. Make up a little story. Or, this is wild, just be present. Look around, make eye contact, talk to someone, meditate, be where your feet are. At first it's uncomfortable, and then bit by bit you remember, oh, here I am. Here are my thoughts. Here are my own ideas. Here is my time to do the things and be with the people I love most. And underneath that, your nervous system slowly unravels. It's easing. It's letting down its defenses. It's slowly moving out of protective mode, slowly moving toward a place where it can heal, restore, and rewire. Time slows back down. You go to sleep on time, and you sleep deeper. I am told not infrequently that I am ahead of my time, or I was ahead of my time, an early adopter, or of course that I am way out there, but so far the mainstream has hopped on board eventually with just about everything. And I looked into my crystal ball. This will be no different. I can tell you with absolute certainty that the tidal wave movement to put down these devices, to re-engage in life, to start feeling alive and joyful again is coming. It is already here, and it is going to get bigger and bigger. And thank goodness, because we are at a breaking point. There is very, very real and devastating suffering happening, and these phones are not part of the solution the way we're using them. I ask you kindly to be part of the first wave of this movement. It is to save ourselves, our parents, our children, and right now this is everything. And the most beautiful part, it's totally free. Everyone gets to choose this. The only barriers are our own conditioning and our own false beliefs, and we can choose to change those too. Now, if this resonated, here's what I want you to do. Share this episode via text message or via email with a few friends, and you could just say, this really inspired me. I thought you might enjoy it too. That's it. Let it land where it may. If you're on social media, you can share it there, but we all know that's really not going to get the meaningful attention that I think this topic really, really needs. I've also pulled together some resources, some books, some other podcast episodes, some groups, the pledge from Unplugged Canada. All of that you will find in the show notes that go with this episode when you go to courageouspivot.com. Click on this episode and you will find all of the links in there to help you move this forward, to help you start initiatives in your school, to help you pave the way in your home, in your friend group, whatever it may be. Ultimately, it is the key back to connection with each other. It is a solution to the loneliness that so many people are experiencing. And it's how we can start to heal as a family, as a community, as a society, and as a world. And as I've said multiple times before, if we cannot find the way to inner peace within ourselves, how do we expect to see it out in the world? This is a part of that. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your ongoing support and your care. your emails. I appreciate it so much. We'll see you again soon. Have a beautiful rest of your day.